I saw the highlights of the Democratic Party's debate that occurred just two nights ago, and I am not impressed. In fact, it was pretty bad. I would say that this takes place of the first debate as just the Democrats' worst night, in my own personal opinion, because it wasn't just about the candidates fighting against one another, but it was just their overall inco- just inconsistency with each other about trying to actually get realistic policies on the floor, which would support people, and this only backs up with what many of them have said, and some of what hasn't said. In fact, during let's just get into the part with what they said specifically. Um, one of the people who was running for office, Kristen Gillibrand, yeah, that's her name, Kristen Gillibrand, actually said that if she becomes president, her first her first thing that she's gonna do is to use Clorox in the Oval Office. Now, obviously, this was an attack on Trump, but it's not a very not very good one, and it doesn't really help at all with what she also says with specifically attacking Trump women, because she specifically said that that the reason why their own sons, who of course would happen to be white, the reason why they're not getting shot is because of their own white privilege. If you're trying to get Trump supporters on your side, Miss Gillibrand, you're doing a terrible job. You're doing a really, really terrible job. That's just only one candidate. Bernie Sanders is also another one of those candidates. He specifically said that if a woman and a child cross thousands of miles dangerously just to get into our border, he doesn't consider them criminals, despite the fact that they illegally crossed into the border. And of course, that alone is a very misleading statement as well, because there are also, aside from there are some men that have crossed into the border, and have been many of these people have actually crossed into the border through either the use of cartels or through human trafficking. In fact, one time, Black Pigeon Speaks, and I will post this video down below. He actually mentioned one of the newsletters that actually said one of the illegal immigrants who actually tried to cross into the United States bought a baby online for $80. Now, thank God he was eventually arrested on the southern border, but that's how far these people are willing to go. And again, just the emphasis of how they're looking at illegal immigrants, it only puts the Democratic Party in such a bad light that they don't really care about Americans in general. They don't care about any single American. They're just caring about their own new voting base. That's basically it. And just this second Democratic debate is only just highlighting that specific thing. Now, on to what actually happened, continuing on with what they actually said, there has been a huge, aside from the bashing of Donald Trump, and of course of Trump supporters, what really takes the cake is Don Lemon. Because not only did he focus somewhat on Trump supporters, he also focused on white supremacy, something that the media has been concocting. I can't say that word. Concocting. I can't say that word. I hope you guys know what I meant. Trying to create an illusion that there are so many white supremacists out there that, as a result of what happened when Trump was finally elected as president of the United States, he emphasized that to a heavy degree. One of his questions actually was what is your response or what do you think of Trump supporters when they think of the economy instead of the president's own bigotry and as well as the rise of white supremacy? And again, all this is highlighting the fact that they just don't care about the average day Americans. Forget about Trump supporters. They're just willingly wanting to cause and sow division. And the fact that Don Lemon himself is saying that, a mediator in the Democratic debate who's supposed to not have any stance with the debate at all, is creating that kind of division with this kind of language. Now, on with what they didn't say. And I actually wrote some notes down below, which actually mentioned some of this. They didn't talk about Robert Mueller. And they didn't talk about the Russian investigation. That was the major thing that they didn't talk about. No comment about Robert Mueller or the whole idea of Russian collusion. I think that the reason why that they're trying to get away from the whole Russian collusion thing is that they believe that if they somehow just get out of that situation right now, they may steer themselves away from being identified with that. But considering that it's been 2 years, and even after the conclusion in the Mueller report that showed that there is no evidence that suggests that Russia colluded with the Russians during the election in 2016, they still went about it. So it's obviously if they're trying to get away from the whole Robert Mueller investigation, it's too late. It's already been in the news, and that's what people are thinking about when it comes to the Democratic Party and the mainstream media in general. Because it's been that specific topic has been heavily politicized. It's been heavily politicized at the point that no one can just stop talking about it, or well, mainly more specifically the mainstream media. And that is a major issue. And after just the collapse of the whole narrative and just after the testimony of Robert Mueller, I find it very, very funny that the Democrats are not talking about this. Because it only shows that their own narrative that Trump colluded with the Russians and he is basically not our president has finally collapsed. They have nothing on that. And again, this only proves how much of a trash heap the Democratic debate is. Because they have nothing. All they have is just we are the party that should attack Trump. We are the party that must defeat Trump in 2020. There has been no policies whatsoever that may suggest that may suggest them actually getting good votes from moderates or even the few conservatives as well. Now, to continue on, who won the debates? Obviously, I would say if I were to choose 3 people, I would place in third place Andrew Yang. Because he managed to get his own talkative points then. And honestly, from what I can tell, he wasn't really involved in the whole identity politics shtick that the Democrats have been so used to. So honestly, I think that actually helped him a lot. And forget about the whole $1,000 income tax thing, which he did offer that as a policy. I disagree with that policy personally, but nonetheless, that's something that I think Americans some Americans are into because they, let's face it, we love the idea of having more money in our pockets. Although I admit that this policy has some faults to it. He continues to drive that momentum of trying to be the outsider of the Democratic Party, and I think it's working to an extent. Now, I do not believe that Andrew Yang is gonna win the election or become the nominee. Absolutely not. But nonetheless, he is still gaining much momentum. The second one that I would say is actually in the top is, believe it or not, Marianne Williamson, who honestly, to me in my book, is very crazy because of what she said about the yesterday's debate of not yesterday's debate, the first debate, when she said that she was gonna fight Trump with love, and just that how she went about what her answers were with the whole trying to fight Donald Trump with love. That was just strange to me. It just didn't seem like she was right in the head. Now, I put her in the second place because of something here on Fox News right here. Dan Gaynor, debate drama. Marianne Williamson scores with attacks on dark psychic forces. Google goes nuts. And I think that actually shows how some of the sway that Marianne Williamson has, because she's speaking at the spirit of the Democratic Party. She's not speaking of the whole identity politics or far left stake, although she has done that before. But right now, she was focusing on trying to reorganize the Democratic Party into something that would actually be a fitting political party. And through this, when she says that when she attacks Trump with the whole idea of dark psychic forces, it kind of brings into that whole spiritual essence. In fact, I think I believe it was either Tim Pool or Sargon of Akkad that actually mentioned this sort of thing. Although I cannot be specific, I will look into that specific source and try to figure it out, and I will make sure I put in the source in the description below. Nonetheless, it does show that she does talk the spiritual nature of the Democratic Party. However, I do not believe that she will be the next nominee. I do not believe she will be the next nominee. I still think that the Democratic Party is still messed up. To that, a lot of these people that are a lot of the mainstream media is just advocating for, such as Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Peter Buttigieg, Senator Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. Those people are likely to get into the next debate, which, as it turns out, you need at least a 2% in the polls and some secure donations to make sure that you get into the next debate. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The last person who I think actually at least won the heart of the debate is Tulsi Gabbard. And her pivotal moment was when she attacked Kamala Harris on her work as an attorney general in California. She actually mentioned that during her tenure as the attorney general, she put over 1,500 people accused of having marijuana into jail, and she just laughed about that. In fact, it says here on PolitiFact that in a February interview on New York-based radio show The Breakfast Club, Harris said that she had smoked marijuana in class. I haven't inhaled. I did inhale. It was a long time ago, but yes, I just broke news. And the senator then laughed, according to the CNN article, and she tried pot in college. So I think what this is trying to say here is that she was trying to be funny about her experiences. Although I admit it is kind of strange how she committed such crimes in the past when recreational marijuana wasn't legal, and she is sending at least 1,000 to 1,500 people into jail. But that wasn't the last thing. There was a point when Gabbard actually attacked Harris for, quote, blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. And again, this is from PolitiFact as well as Real Clear Politics. Um, Basically, the case what she was referring to was Kevin Cooper, a black man who was in death row. And according to the New York Times actually fact-checked this claim about Cooper, convicted, who himself was convicted of by a jury for a 1983 quadruple murder. And as it turned out, when what she said about blocking evidence, that is, while that is a slight misinterpretation, or well, a slight lie. I'm gonna say lie. Miss Harris, as Attorney General, and I'm quoting PolitiFact here, did not allow new advanced DNA testing in his case, denying Mr. Cooper's request. After the New York Times wrote about this case, Ms. Harris told Times columnist Nicholas Kristof that I feel awful about this and called on the state to allow such testing. The Times added that while Governor Gavin Newsom of California has ordered additional DNA testing in the case, and a number of legal and judicial experts say that Mr. Cooper was wrongfully convicted, the advanced testing was not yet proved Mr. Cooper's innocence and allowed him to leave death row. So, again, although she framed it in a different way, nonetheless, that was a major hit on Kamala Harris. Because for whatever you feel about death row, Tulsi Gabbard just painted Kamala Harris as a murderer of innocence. And honestly, that's not going to look too well in the Democratic Party. So despite the fact that a lot of media outlets are still backing Kamala Harris, I don't think that she will be in the next debate. I honestly don't think so, as a result of Tulsi Gabbard's actual attack on her. In fact, so far, according to NBC News, only 7 out of 24 candidates appear to have met the criteria of securing enough donations as well as a 2% of the polls. And they would be former Vice President Joe Biden, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, I never can pronounce that correctly, California Senator Kamala Harris, former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. So either way, it's just going to be, even though she is currently on the road to being the next debate, I'm pretty certain that this is definitely going to be keeping up with her in the campaign to follow, as the Democrats get nearer and nearer to figuring out who's going to be the next nominee. But either way, I don't think in any sort of way that with this current situation in the Democratic Party, the Democrats have any chance of winning. Absolutely no chance. In fact, because of how far left this party has gone, it's turning off many American voters. Many of them who happen to be just on the moderate side of the political spectrum. Which is kind of crazy because you need that moderate section in order to help yourself win the presidency, and as well as the House and the Senate. But that's a completely different matter entirely. We're talking about the presidency here. In fact, it's just I don't see them at all in their current situation of actually doing good in this 2020 election, and I think it's still gonna hurt them in 2024. And that is unless they do some major changes. In fact, I've actually put down a lot of changes. First, you need to crack down on the far left. You need to quell their voices. Although with how AOC and Ilhan Omar and the squad is being given a platform. I don't really see that. It's just right now the Democrats are being too gullible, especially with how they treated Trump's tweet about those four progressive congresswomen. Second, adopt a few positions of Trump supporters. Even if you may not get all Trump supporters, getting a few on your side would definitely be a major benefit. That would at least provide you an idea of being a moderate, as well as maybe trying to give out an olive branch to Trump supporters, and just showing that their concerns matter. 3, no open borders. I'm pretty certain that they would keep the whole idea of asylum for illegal immigrants as long as they don't actually have a criminal record. But I'm sure that many Americans actually do not have a problem with. But the whole open borders thing just needs to be dropped. No one likes the idea of people illegally coming in their country, and just taking advantage of getting jobs, as well as other government programs and many others. 4, you need a candidate that speaks strength in voice and appearance. Now, honestly, the Democrats right now have those kinds of candidates, although they're being either slandered or they don't really have the massive amount of popularity as much as the other seven candidates currently have. And those would be, like I said before, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. But like I said before, considering how far the Democratic Party has gone into a nomination, I do not believe those two will be president. And this is going to be this would be a major downfall for the Democratic Party, because a lot of people, especially on the internet, have been seeing these two people as the same ones at the Democratic Party. While they're still still left-leaning, they're willing to engage with the average American voter. And even, I think, even to an extent, even some Trump supporters, they're not trying to get into the whole identity politics BS that, again, the Democratic Party is so infected with. Finally, drop slavery reparations. Because a lot of people are not liking the idea of paying for something that occurred over 150 years ago. They don't. After all, a lot of the slave owners and the slaves themselves have long since passed, but it's just all this time is just further sowing division, and it's just causing more and more hostility between the average American and the Democratic Party. Heavy hostility. And that's what I think that the Democratic Party should do. But I do not believe that they're going to do that in 2020. It's going to take a long time for them to actually get over what is going on and become a center-left party again. They are no longer a center-left party right now. They have been they have been pretty much hijacked by the far left in order to basically fulfill the needs of just the far left. And I don't think that this is going to be this is not going to be a good strategy. In fact, it's going to backfire on them. I think Trump is eventually going to win a second term, but I think that the Republicans will actually possibly hold on to the Senate, if not gain a seat or two. And even the Democrats, I think they will probably retake the House because of how much of a platform the Democratic Party is giving to the far left, and how vocal the far left is. They have painted themselves as the far left party and the Socialist Party. They're not painting themselves as the liberal American Party. And in the end, I think that will be their downfall. Not only will this affect them in 2020, but it will definitely affect them in 2024. Maybe even beyond. My name is Noah, me and all the Arc Truth. Please post your comments down below. Like this video, share it, subscribe. And if you guys happen to have any criticisms for any of my videos, please be sure to either send me a message or just post your criticisms down in the comments below. Alright, thank you.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.